Now, today we're going to talk about chance experiment in probability over here, okay? Now, what am I going to do right now? I'm going to do a simple experiment where I will be throwing paper ball inside this jug over here, okay? Now, before I do the experiment, let's try to talk about what is the chances, right? What is the chances that I can throw this ball inside this jug over here? So the probability, okay, that I will score, it's gonna be 1/2, right? Because what are the outcomes do I have? It's either I score or I don't score, right? It's gonna be this outcome, okay? But the thing is, will this be true for me, all right? Or in fact for everyone, okay? Because when everyone do this simple experiment, their chance of scoring, okay, it's going to be 1/2. But is that true for everyone? Because everyone have different ability, different techniques, okay, different skills, and some of them might be a better shooter, right? So in case they should have a higher percentage of scoring, okay? So this is where this experiment is here for us to find out, okay? So this probability that we see over here, it's what we call a theoretical probability. Theoretical probability. Okay, it is the probability that we assume that everyone will get. But to find if our probability is true or not, we have to conduct the experiment. So this is what I'm going to do, all right? So I have prepared some 10 paper balls, which I'm going to try this right now, okay? So what I'm doing is I will be throwing. If I were to score, I will fill up the tables accordingly, okay? So let's try with my first thrower. All right, miss. Second one, score. Third one, score. Fourth one, score. Fifth one, miss. Sixth one, score. 7, score. 8, score. 9, miss. And the last one, score. Okay, so what have I done so far is I have done an experiment of me throwing 10 paper balls. Okay, so let's work out the probability of me scoring. Okay, so the probability of me scoring right now, probability of me scoring, okay, score from 10 shots. So what's going to be? So to calculate probability, it's going to be the number of outcome over the total outcome, right? So what is the probability of me what is the number that I score out of the 10 throws? So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so it's going to be 7 out of 10. Okay, now to make this into a much easy way to compare, our theoretical probability over here, 1/2, has the same meaning as 0.5, correct? And my probability over here is I get 0.7. Okay, so we can see in our experimental probability over here, my shooting accuracy, it's higher than the theoretical probability. All right, so when we are doing experiment over here, we will able to find out, okay, we will be able to find out how accurate is the person, all right, based on the score over here. But the question is, all right, the question is, will this score will always be the same, all right? So the more experiment we do, the more accurate is going to be the result, right? So that's why over here, my first 10 shot, I got 7 out of 10. And then I will repeat the experiment for 2 more times over here. Okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw another table over here. Alright, so I'm going to record this. So the first one is the number of shoots. And the frequency, all right, how many times I score. All right, I'm interested to find out how many times I score. So I'm not gonna make it to individual. I'm gonna make it to 10, 20, and 30. So this is my first 10 shot, my next 10 shot, and my next 10 shot, right? So my first 10 shot, I have 7 score. All right. Okay, let me change the color. I have 7 score. Now let me do the other experiment here. All right. Let me get my paper balls first and let me try that again. So my next 10 shot, I will just record the score again. Let's see what I get. Okay, miss the first one. I will only label if I score. Okay, score. Miss. 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 Score. Miss. Score. Score. And score. All right. So my second time is not as good as my first time. All right. My second time is not as good as my first time. All right. So my additional 10 shots, I score 5 times over here. So the total amount of shots I in, okay, 7 plus 5. All right. 7 plus 5, that's going to be 12 shots. All right. 12 shots. So what if I were to repeat the experiment for one more time? So let me get my paper first. So I'll repeat my experiment for one last time. Score. Miss. Score. 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 And last one. Score. Okay, so my next 10 shot, I score 9. All right, so which means I score 9 over here, which means I'm gonna add 9 to this right now. Okay, I'm gonna add 9 to this. All right, so 12 plus 9, okay, I will get 21. All right, okay, so that's my result so far, right? That's my result so far. So let's see what can we find, what can we see in this, okay? So what I'm interested in right now is I want to find the probability, all right? But what we are calculating right now is probability of an experiment like this one. We have a special name for them, right? We have a special name for them. We called it the relative frequency, all right? We call it the relative frequency, okay? So when you see this word relative frequency, it has the same meaning of probability, all right? So how I like to say it is, when you see the word relative frequency, it's gonna be the probability of that experiment, okay? Of that experiment, all right? Okay, just gonna quickly grab my calculator a while. Okay, so based on this result over here, let's calculate what is the relative frequency I get. Okay, so my first shot over here, I got 7 out of 10. Okay, that's gonna be 0.7, right? So that's my relative frequency. Okay, I will just take 7, the number of time I score out of a total of 10 shots, right? So what about my second shot over here? So that would be 12 over 20. So that's going to be 0.6, all right? The number of shots, the number of scores I get over the total shots. And finally, over here, all right, I have 21 over 30, which is going to give me 0.7. Okay? So take a look at this result over here. This is my relative frequency. So based on my result, it shows that my result is actually higher than the theoretical probability, which means overall quite okay lah. My accuracy of throwing the paper ball is quite acceptable lah. Okay, so you see that our result here will differ from person to person, correct or not? So how do we find all these things? Is by doing experiment. All right, the more experiment we do, the more accurate is going to be the result. All right, so that is how we find relative frequency. All right, so again, don't forget this word. Relative frequency is the probability of the experiment you are doing. So usually you will see a table has been laid out for you, all this information are like this. So you just calculate the relative frequency like any other probability question, which is the number of outcome over the total outcome. That's it. Okay?